Good afternoon and welcome to this episode of Hunt's Corner Hunter. This will be part 2 of our How to Hunt Turkey series. In this episode, we'll talk about guns and ammunition. First of all, let me say that regardless of anything that I say in this episode, you need to get a copy of your state game regulations and examine them, and they will tell you exactly what kind of weapons you can use to turkey hunt in your state. Having said that, people in different states hunt turkeys with muzzleloading rifles. They use bows and crossbows. Some states even allow the use of rifles. But for the vast majority of us, when we turkey hunt with shotguns. And that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to break this down into 3 different areas. We're going to talk about the type of action shotgun that you want to use. We will talk about which gauge is appropriate for you. And finally, we'll talk about the different kinds of turkey hunting ammunition. If the only turkey shotgun you have is a single barrel shotgun in 12 gauge that belonged to your grandfather, if that's all you got, then there's nothing wrong with this, provided it's got a full choke. This is a perfectly acceptable turkey gun. This is an Iver Johnson Champion 12 gauge with a full choke, 2 3/4 inch chamber, and this gun will kill turkeys. And this gun historically has killed I don't know how many thousands of turkeys. And if that's what you got, then that's what you should use. But for the vast majority of us, we long ago switched over to repeating shotguns. And there are different kinds. There's bolt actions, but most of us are going to use either a semi-auto or a pump, like this Mossberg 835. And this is my personal turkey shotgun. In general, it probably doesn't matter which one you use, whether you use a pump or a semi-auto or even something else. The important thing is that you be familiar with your particular weapon and how to operate it. Having said that, if I had to choose between a semi-auto and a pump, I'm going to pick the pump every time, and here's why. There's several advantages, I think, to a pump over a semi-auto. First of all, every semi-automatic shotgun in existence, I don't care who makes it, Benelli, Browning, Beretta, Winchester, Remington, Weatherby, Ithaca, all of those, it doesn't matter, every one of them will jam at some point. And the world being the kind of place it is, the odds are most likely it's going to jam when you're trying to make a follow-up shot on a bird that you've either missed or wounded. So a pump shotgun like this one is not going to jam unless you short stroke it. And if you short stroke a shotgun, you need to go back to the range and practice some more. Secondly, with a pump shotgun, the action is usually a little slimmer and usually not as heavy as on a semi-auto. A semi-auto, the bolt, you're going to have a bolt handle protruding out that can hang on stuff, and usually the bolt is a lot thicker than it is on a pump. So I like the streamlinedness of a pump. And finally, there's one other advantage that a pump has. If you're sitting here with your semi-automatic shotgun one morning and you draw a bead on a gobbler, and instead of hearing bang, you hear this. Either you've got a dud shell or you didn't put a shell in the chamber. If you got a semi-auto, the only thing you can do is grab that bolt handle, pull back, release, the action will slam, and pick up another shell. Meanwhile, you've made all kinds of racket, and the bird that you were drawing a bead on is now headed for the next county. If you have a pump, you just very carefully and quietly slide the action open and then gently close it back. I know that because I've had it happen. So take it from my experience, there's a little bit of an advantage to using the pump shotgun. Not saying there's anything wrong with a semi-auto, But if I were going to go out and buy a shotgun today just for turkey hunting, I'd go with a pump. When I started turkey hunting 25 years ago, everybody was using 12 gauge shotguns because that's what all the turkey loads were available in, was 12 gauge. Now with the technology that has come out in the last 20 years that has improved shotgun pellets, you can get turkey loads in 20 gauge like this. You could even get turkey shells in 410 gauge, and they have come out with those in just the last few years. If you are an older shooter, maybe with some mobility issues or some pain issues, if you are a smaller, petite woman, or maybe a small child, then yes, there's probably a case for you to use a 20 gauge or something like a 410. But for the vast majority of us, I still think it's a 12 gauge world. And if I were going to go out and buy a shotgun, I'd get a 12 gauge. If you can't shoot something like a 12, then obviously cut back to something smaller. But you will get a lot further with something like this 12 gauge than you will, say, the smaller gauge, because the bigger 12 holds more shot. And that's going to allow you to put more shot onto that turkey's head. The ammunition for turkeys has changed so much since I started. When I started, we all used copper-plated lead pellets like this Kent Ultimate Diamond Shot. And the word at that time was you wanted enough pellets to be able to kill a turkey at the farthest range that you were liable to shoot. Most of us used either 6, 5, or number 4 shot. Number 6 was effective at killing turkeys out to about 35 yards. Number 4 would be out to about 55 yards. And number 5s would probably kill a turkey out to about 45. I used number 5s. I tried to keep my shots inside 40 yards, and having that extra 5 yards of, range helped you out if you misjudge range just a little bit. And it's easy to do. If you're sitting down on the edge of a field and you're watching the turkey strut towards you, it looks like he's the size of a wash tub or a dish pan. And it's very easy to misjudge how far it is, especially if you've set up in a hurry and have had a time to get a rangefinder and check how far, that furrow is or that bush is. You may be sitting there ready to shoot in 2.5 seconds. So with that in mind, I liked having the cushion. And then about 15 years ago, they came out with Heavy Shot. And Heavy Shot is a blend of steel and iron, lead, and bronze, and some other metals. This creates a shot that is heavier than lead and allows you to use a smaller pellet in the same mass of shot, and you get more hit counts. And that's an important thing to understand, that when you go to smaller shot, you get more pellets, but you also reduce the energy per pellet. With Heavy Shot, you can go to a smaller pellet and you're still lethal at the same range. So when they came out with Heavy Shot and I could afford it, I kept using number 5s. I still use the 3.5-inch Magnum, 2.25 ounces. But now, instead of my maximum range being 45 yards, my maximum range is closer to 55. And with this Mossberg 835, a 3.5-inch shell, 2.25 ounces of number 5s, I had killed a turkey at 61 yards. Not that I thought he was 60 yards away and I shot him, but I thought he was right at 50. It was a little further than I thought he was. It was up a hill on a road, and an old field road, and it was a difficult angle to judge. But the turkey went down with one shot. So in the last couple of years, they have now come out with what is called Tungsten Super Shot. This is even heavier than Heavy Shot. Heavy Shot runs about 13 grams per cubic centimeter. tungsten super shot is about 18 grams per cubic centimeter. And most of those are going to be offered in number 7 and number 9 sizes. Again, you're getting more pellets at the same energy, and that's always a good thing. When you shoot at a turkey, you want to put as many pellets as you can into that turkey's head, but you want to do it at a range that it's still going to be lethal. It doesn't do you any good to put a load of pellets in his head at 70 yards and all you do is knock some feathers out of him. So when you go to select your sharp shells, make sure you understand what you're getting. Something like these 2 3/4 inch 12 gauge, this is 1.5 ounces of number 4. You can get these at Walmart. They'll probably, this is a box of 10. This will probably run you $20. With the heavy shot, a box like this has 5 shells and it's probably going to cost you $35 or $40. With the tungsten super shot, you're probably going to pay about $75 for a box of 5 shells. That's about 15 bucks a shell. That's pretty expensive. That's why I haven't tried them out yet. Not to mention, these things work pretty good. Look at what your budget is, buy the best that you could afford, and go with that. When you buy shells, make sure you are buying the right load, not just the pellet size, but the ounces of shot. This is the load charge in these Kent of 2 1/4 ounces. These in this 12 gauge 2 3/4 is 1.5 ounces. In the 20 gauge, you're going to get 1.25 ounces. These are 2 1/4. These 10 gauge shot is 2 1/4. What you don't want to use is something like this, these dove and pheasant loads. This is 1.25 ounces number 6. This would probably work at really close range, but you can get more pellets, so you should. So go with an actual proper turkey load. Don't try to substitute something else like dove loads or duck loads or something like that. Get an actual turkey load. The final piece to all this is you need to get out there and pattern your shotgun and see how it's going to shoot. And that involves 2 aspects. One, where is your shot pattern centered on the target? And 2, do you have enough pattern density to ensure enough hits on a turkey? With this Mossberg 835 that I got in the year 2000, so 24 years ago, and I bought my first box of shells. It was Federal Premiums. It was a 3.5 inch Magnum, 2 1/4 ounces of number 4. And I patterned them at 50 yards, and it would put 5 to 7 pellets in a turkey's head at that range, and that was enough to kill one. And it was centered on the paper, and that's what you want. But something like this shotgun, which needs repairs to the rifle sights, but this has TruGlo rifle sights on it. You want to take a load. You don't even have to use turkey load. You take some of these dove loads and go out there and make sure you want to shoot at a turkey target. It's got a turkey on it, with a little bullseye on the turkey's head, and shoot and make sure that that pattern is centered on that turkey's bullseye. If it is not, and you've got sights like this, adjust your sights to get the pattern centered on the turkey's head. If you don't have adjustable sights, either put some, or you're going to have to hold the shotgun off to one side or the other and adjust your point of aim to make sure you kill that turkey. You want to look at the pattern density on the paper, and for that you're going to have to actually shoot your turkey loads. So when you go to buy some, buy an extra box for patterning. Shoot it at 40 yards. Make sure you've got enough pellets in that turkey's head that's going to kill him. But something like the heavy shot at 40 yards and a good full choke or an extra full choke, which is what I got on this shotgun. This is a Primos Jellyhead. You can put upwards of 150 to 200 pellets inside a 10-inch circle at 40 yards, and that'll kill any turkey dead as the nickel cup of coffee. It'll really do a good number on him. So get out there, pattern your shotgun, check your point of aim, check the pellets on the turkey's head, and see how it does. Some final thoughts on a shotgun. Get you a sling. You're going to carry this shotgun a whole lot more than you're going to shoot it. So make sure you do that. Keep your shotgun clean. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if they're cleaned regularly, they'll operate better. You'd be surprised how easy it is to get leaves and trash in this thing. And I've actually taken this one apart, sticks fall out of it. A camo finish, like this one, this Realtree, it's in bad shape. This gun's had a hard life, but this goes a long way towards helping conceal your gun. If it didn't come with a camo finish, spray paint, Krylon, works just fine. Some greens and some browns, that goes a long way towards camouflaging your gun. I'll talk about this single shot a little more in another video. I think the single shot is probably one of the most versatile weapons in existence. Make sure you've got a full choke or an extra full choke. This is, again, this is a Primos jelly head, and this thing delivers unbelievable patterns. Get out there, shoot your gun, try it out, make sure it's going to work the way you want it to work. Get familiar with your shotgun, and then go hunting and have a good time. I hope this information was of some use to you. If it was, subscribe, hit the like button, ring the notification bell, and you'll be notified when the next video drops. Until next time, thanks for watching.